Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since I've done a video, and a long video. I've done shorts, but this is going to be a long form video about using Vibe coding tools, and I'm going to focus specifically on Lovable AI in this one. I haven't really used Lovable that much, so I figured I'm going to start with the tool that I'm not familiar with, so those of you who haven't done Vibe coding before can kind of get a kind of get a feeling for what it's like learning and using a tool for the first time. For those who don't know, I'm a developer, so my tool of choice usually is Cursor AI because it's just integrated in development tool. I'm used to writing code and I'm used to being deep in. So some of my assumptions that I have about these tools I've kind of brought over from Cursor, but I'm learning to just kind of lean into it a little bit better. I did a whole short video on kind of leaning into things, not fighting the bear, kind of letting the tool do what it does. And so that's what we're going to try to do here together with Lovable. I offer services, support people in Vibe coding, so feel free to reach out to me directly if you need support with Vibe coding or learning any of these tools or anything like that. But now let's hop into it. So what I'm going to try to do is create a prompt that will build a website for me that allows me to sell assets, i.e. something like Gumroad, but a very simple version of Gumroad. I'm also going to keep these videos down to 20, 30 minutes. So if I don't get all the way through it in 30 minutes, I'll do another video to kind of get through the rest of it. Because what I want to try to do is help you understand kind of the process that I'm going through. And you'll notice some of the things that I do because I'm a developer and I have that kind of lens of how I see things. But I'll try to step back from that and come at it more as a product manager or just someone who has an idea for a product and try not to get too technical in my prompts. And if I do, call me out in the comments or let me know, because the whole idea is like, you are a founder, startup, idea person, whatever, and you just want to leverage these tools to get a prototype built. So that's what our goal is here. And the assumption is you don't have a lot of technical expertise. So that's why I'm going to try to just focus on being non-technical for a while. So we'll keep the prompt simple also. So we'll say, let's build and allows me to sell digital assets like video tutorials, blog content, and source code. I will want to integrate payment, have UI for sellers to manage their content, provide suggestions on UI best practices. So I'm going to not get into designing the UI and all of this stuff. I'm just going to let it do what it wants to do and just kind of see what it comes back with. Because the whole idea is I don't have a lot of experience in development, so I'm counting on Lovable to come up with something good for me. So sell digital assets, video tutorials, blog content, source code. I want to integrate payment, have UI for sellers to manage their content, provide suggestions for UI and best practices, build out UI first before deeper API integration. So this way we can get a look at the API before we start to do deeper stuff. All right, and so let's see what we get. And just to let you know, I will kind of start and stop the video to compress it so that we don't spend a lot of time just watching it do things. Okay. So what it does is coming back and tell me what it thinks I want based on it. You have the opportunity here to kind of review it, provide some feedback to interrupt it here, but we're just going to try to let it go and do what it wants to do. You can see here also that it looks like it got my So it was able to understand from what I wrote here that it's something like Gumroad. So I'm certain it'll use that for some inspiration. Gumroad and Podia. It also talks here about how it's going to make it mobile responsive. I can see just if I click this over here, I can see from looking at the code kind of the direction it's going. It looks like it's using Tailwind. Yeah, it says it's using Tailwind to get everything going, so that's good. And you can just watch here. I was just starting to integrate the rest of the code. What I tell folks is like, this is the time where you just pause and go grab a cup of coffee and kind of just let it do what it's going to do. Okay, so that took about 10 minutes. Like I said, I paused it and restarted it. And kind of this is what you get. And so if you look at this, it's pretty impressive of what's been built. So it kind of explains here what you've done. This beautiful digital asset marketplace with modern UI design, landing page, market page. It just kind of gives you a list of all the features. And then it kind of tells you what your next steps are. And so now it's making recommendations as I'm planning on selling digital assets, need to handle payments, user accounts, and other content management. Supabase is a simple way to incorporate it. So Supabase is a pretty well-known platform as a service. It's a database. Let's go to the website quickly for those who aren't familiar with it. With Supabase, you get a SQL database. Firebase is NoSQL. But you get a SQL database. You get authentication. You get edge functions, which are basically serverless functions that can run in the cloud. So you don't necessarily need to build like an Express or some other tool like that for a backend. You could just make HTTP. I'm getting kind of technical, but you can make requests from your front-end web application directly to a backend that will run what they call serverless functions for you. Execute some code and then return the data back to you through an API. It supports real-time subscriptions. It basically means changes to your database can automatically be updated to your front-end UI. It has blob storage, so it can store images and a bunch of other assets. Then it has vector embeddings to support LLMs and more complicated AI integration. So this is what you get with Supabase. I think you can get free projects set up, or you can spin up a project for $25 a month, and it comes with all of these features here. Right? So that's Supabase. I'm pretty certain most people know what Stripe is, which when we get to payment, maybe we'll integrate Stripe as our payment. But let's focus on what we have already, right? So this is what it built for me, and you saw the simple prompt I made. Let's see, looks like it did not fix that page. Let's just try to fix. You can see how it works. Try to fix. So there was an error in generating the UI. I'm a technical person, and I use these tools, so I've seen this error multiple times, which is kind of strange that all these tools kind of make this exact same mistake, but this is how these tools work. Looks like it solved it for us. Yep, looks like it solved the problem. Since I did mention it, let me show you. ShadCN. ShadCN it's a component library based on Tailwind that basically provides you these components to utilize in your application. You can see all these examples of different UIs that have been generated. I can generate forms. And here's just clear documentation on all the different types of components that it supports. What they call blocks, which are pre-built components. They also have themes, so you can kind of play around with what you want your UI to look like. And then they have this colors thing here, which gives you some help with identifying colors and things you want. But the whole idea is like you should not have to figure this stuff out, that your tool is figuring it out for you. I'm familiar with this because I do development and I've leveraged these tools and solutions that I've built. All right, so let's go back here. Like I said, pretty impressive what it's built so far. It's built this marketplace. It loads in dummy data so you can get an idea what it's going to look like. It shows you how you can kind of filter. Let's see, is the filter been implemented? No, it looks like the filter hasn't been implemented yet. Any of this stuff been? No. So it looks like none of this UI stuff has been, like the filtering and stuff's been implemented yet. But like I said, I asked it to just generate the UI for me so we can get a feel for it. It looks pretty good. Also notice how it's kind of doing the navigation. Sorry, not the navigation, the animation. It kind of on its own came up with that. And this is a pretty decent UI. It's got the paging built. Looks like it's not. Oh, there's not. Let's go back to all. This isn't long enough for paging, but it gave us the UI that we want. Like, imagine if you had paid someone to design this UI for you with Figma, or if you tried to design it on your own, like how much time that would have taken. This took me 10 minutes. It actually didn't take me 10 minutes. I actually waited for some of the time. It looks like all the pages aren't there yet. Let's see. Let's go back. See, did it do any of the basket? I'm just trying to see what we got built already. Right? It built out the dark mode for us. Let's see, do we got product detail? Yep, we got a product detail page. So let's see, add to cart. Doesn't look like the cart's implemented yet. But we have a pretty clean UI. Look at all the stuff here that we get. So even with this, if you had your own idea, like this would be sufficient enough to kind of take it to the next step, present to folks on your team, try to get some feedback from potential clients on what they think about the solution. And like I said, this was done with one prompt, less than 10 minutes, way, way, way more impressive, in my opinion, than a Figma design. The fact that this thing is spun up, it's an application, it's running, it's not full feature, but it is running. People can click through and give you feedback on things they like. But let me show you what else we can do. Let's see if we can kind of prompt our way to get something built that's not implemented yet. So it looks like we're trying to go to this categories pages and nothing's working. So let's see if we can get this to add to categories pages. So the link to categories returns page not found. And we'll let it go off and think about it and see what it comes back with. All right, so you can see it identified, so it was able to see the console logs. It identified that there was an error because they hadn't implemented it yet, so it went ahead and added it. It followed along with the theme of everything else. It's created the categories here, and then you can have a nice UI for viewing your assets that you have to sell based on category. So let's see, looks like the browse page doesn't work, and we'd like to get at least one of those working. So let's tell it. It seems that the links on the browse page do not work. So hopefully it will probably look in the console, see the errors that were generated, recognize that the links are not going to anywhere. Ideally, it should be giving me back a view similar to the marketplace view, but filtered by the specific categories. And so let's see what it comes back with. I have to admit that, from my experience with using Lovable and Replit, which I'll cover in another video, Lovable seems to do a little bit better job with the UI and colors. Replit just kind of is pretty blah. Doesn't put a lot of effort into visual, differentiation. I can build multiple apps in Replit through prompts, and you would look at the apps and pretty much every single one of them look the exact same. Okay, so it says it noticed that the category links and the pages are pointed to slug, but this route doesn't exist. So now it's going to set up the routes for that. Okay, it's added a new category page. When the user clicks on the category card, blah, 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 it should. So let's see what it does. We have our category browsing. Interesting, I'm noticing that we don't have our back button here. So that's a little bizarre, but let's just click on categories and see how it did. So it's showing us all the different ones. But even there is no back button. I'm thinking about back button because I'm so used to building mobile applications. I guess this is okay. I think breadcrumbs would be, actually, let's ask that. Can we add breadcrumbs to the UI while we are navigating through the application? Let it have a go with that. So if you don't know what I mean by breadcrumbs, it's like I'm at my digital, if I'm on categories now, and then I go from categories, let's say to browse audio content, I would like some sort of breadcrumbs or something so that I can go straight back to categories. I don't know if I need it here. I don't know if I necessarily need breadcrumbs here, but just I think the category to specific content, there should be either a back button to take me back to categories or something to help me with the navigation instead of having to go to the back button. But I like how it's just kind of got this common set of links to take you to pages for things you might not have thought about before. Like I didn't ask for an earnings and analytics or any of this other stuff, but it automatically created those pages for me. And because we're getting close to our kind of 20 to 30 minute mark, like I said, where I wanted to keep this blocked into, I want to make sure I show some of the other things. So you can see it created this seller's dashboard for you. So we're going to take a look at that next. So let's see, we have our breadcrumbs at the top here now. We have video tutorials. That's odd. This link for categories not. Let's refresh. Let's go back to home page. Categories. Is the homework? Yeah, categories is the homework. But if I go categories, browse video tutorials, back to categories, it's not working. So breadcrumbs have been added to navigation. They show current path. Allow usually the breadcrumbs automatically generate to UL and select proper categories. So what we're going to say is when I click link in the breadcrumbs, I am getting page not found. Like I have an idea from a technical perspective what's wrong when I'm trying to not like hop into the code. And while mentioning that, how do you get to the code in here? Yeah, you can click to this dev mode, and you can actually see all the source code that was generated. And if you look here, you can see, we'll get into technical stuff. This looks like it's a Vite app that was built. I can hop in here, using just a regular React.js. So it's React.js with Vite, Tailwind, and then I can see here from this query client that they're using TanStack Query, which is a pretty awesome tool. Once again, this is development stuff, so I'll show it to you anyway. For those who might be a little bit more developer focused, if I go to TanStack, TanStack provides this set of libraries to help you get going with building applications. I think the original one they started with was TanStack Query, which is asynchronous state management server state utility used for fetching. So it manages fetching, caching, pre-fetching, updating stale data. It manages all that stuff for you. So it's kind of nice that Lovable integrates it here automatically. Once we integrate the database, it'll play a much larger role. It's, you can see it's generating the code. One thing it doesn't appear to do very well, which I don't like, is it doesn't document it. Now, usually when I write code and I'm in my cursor, my developer tool, I will basically have a cursor rules file, which are basically rules you apply. It's telling AI what to do, to basically say, always use TypeScript, always generate JSOC. That's one of the things like that I would come back and tell Lovable, please go through all the files and generate the appropriate JavaScript documentation. But it looks like it's done. It fixed the fragment error. So let's go back now to so switch out of this dev mode, go back to my application. Let's refresh it. Let's pick a category, go back. So now it goes back to categories. Like I said, we're getting long. Let's see what it did with the seller dashboard, right? So we need some way to get let's go to video tutorials, to get these products in. So seller dashboard, We've got some style errors here. We can actually we have a bunch of style errors here that need it to be fixed. But ideally, this would be my dashboard as a person who's selling and uploading content to kind of give me information on sales and other things that have gone on. I don't believe, let's see, how did they do the upload? It's like upload's not implemented. I don't think I want to go down that path. It's going to drag us a little bit longer, but hopefully you get some idea of what can be done with this tool, even in just a short amount of time. I think this is pretty impressive. I think for the next steps, we'll work on more of the features of the application in this series. Leave a comment below on what you would like to see done next, and just kind of share what other things that I haven't covered that you might think are interested to cover. Like I said, I will start to look at other solutions, but I wanted to start with Lovable because I wasn't that familiar with it. So I like to show the learning process so it's clear that even experienced folks can kind of sometimes fumble their way through these things. It isn't error free, right? We don't have all the answers. We learn like a lot of y'all do. So let me wrap it here, and hopefully you join me for the next part of the video. Thanks.